The conservation on their farms, and they're doing a fantastic job. A lot of farmers, however, look at set aside very understandably, because it does have a major part to play on their businesses.
What? Oh God, feedback. What's happening? Feedback. We'll try again. Got a little feedback there. The other tape machine, the reel-to-reel, was on, switched on. Must have been affecting it. I've now listened to the second of the two tapes, and there's quite a lot of things. I really should listen with a pad in my hand so that I can sort of jot down the various topics of conversation and then say, right, well, I'll oh yes, that's right, I want to say this about this and this and this. And that's what I'm planning to do. But there are one or two things I do want to mention while they're in my mind. First of all, Freddie, the Freddie you talked about, I remember him, and I have mentioned him to you, but I can't remember in what context exactly. His name was Freddie Goodyear, and I think you used to call him Durf. He was the one who wrote that letter to the Melody Maker about Lionel Hampton's Airmail Special, with a big long list of adjectives: boring, exhibitionist, and a lot of uncomplimentary adjectives about the, particularly referring to the trombone choruses, something about trombones dithering through 24 choruses or something. Not 24 choruses, it couldn't be, could it? 24 bars, whatever. I can't remember it, obviously, but I used to quite like it. Yeah, Freddie Goodyear. He came up to the club one time. He must have stayed with you, presumably, for a period. And he came to the club one Sunday evening, and I remember two things. I remember the fact that he had a speech impediment and so on. It's just, I think it's basically nervousness. But people can't, when there's too much pressure on an individual, some people have through normal conversation, they tend to concentrate on what they want to say, and it sort of stops them from saying it. I've read explanations of this. John Updike, the novelist, has written about it. He has this problem, but they can sort of make themselves cure it by certain devices, not in all cases. But what I remember about Freddie was, that he would sit by the piano, or stand by the piano when a record was playing, and he would sort of play along with the record on the low notes, just little harmonies, sort of ding, 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 just plunking away in tune with the record. And I thought that was rather interesting, especially with a fast or up-tempo bop piece. It sounded quite good. And the other thing I remember is that he brought two records. Well, I mean, he may have brought many more, but the two of the ones that he was talking about, and which were actually played, were, I think, Move Over by Charlie Shavers, or John Kirby. Move Over and something else. And there was one that was very hard to get, I remember. And the other one was Sack House Stomp and King Porter Stomp by Jimmy Dorsey on Brunswick. He definitely played those records and spoke about them. And that's exhausted my file on Freddie Goodyear, but it's interesting to hear you tell that story, because you get sort of different perspective, like when you're talking about the two old dears in Hall Street, Ma Peters. I think they were a mother and daughter combination. Not sure. They might have been sisters with a fairly wide age range, but they may have been mother and daughter. But I remember what happened with me. What you said about them getting annoyed because you recommended that somebody go around to Holdings. I had not been having too much success with Holdings at getting certain jazz records that I ordered when they came out, and they somehow or other never seemed to arrive. I don't know what it was about St. Helens, but somehow or other they didn't seem to, the record companies didn't seem to get the 78s into the shops properly at that time. And I decided, somebody had recommended that I'd go to Peters because they said they were better. So I went round to Peters and I started to order the latest records as they came out. I see them in the little supplement. Dizzy Gillespie on HMV, and I remember Henry Allen, The Crawl was another one, and stuff like that. I think Eddie Haywood's Continental, which incidentally I've been looking for years and I still haven't found it. We used to have that, the Continental and Haywood's Boogie. And I would go into Peters, and the older of the two, the more severe, the more bad-tempered of the two, did not want to sell me jazz. I mean, this was quite obvious. And she said, no, it's not in, it's not coming, it's not coming, it's not coming. And I was pretty persistent. I would go around, has my record come in yet? No, it's not coming, it's not coming. And this went on for several months, and I had no success with the stuff I ordered there. Why I persisted in ordering records when I didn't get the results, I don't know, but I did for quite a long time, a period of maybe 4 or 5 months. Then one day I was in the shop, and for some reason, I don't know why it was, but for some reason I was allowed to go in the back room to look for something. She said something about, oh, it's in the back room there, just go. And I went in the back room, and all these records were on the table, and I started flipping through them, and all the records that I had ordered from them were on this bloody table. They had been coming in, and she just didn't want to sell them to me. I mean, that was obviously the case. I mean, they were piling up in the back there. And I thought, oh my God, what have we here? But I do remember old George Darwin used to have his walls covered in parlophone. I don't think he could get the franchise for HMV. I don't think he was allowed to sell HMV, but he was allowed to sell parlophone. And he had all those blue parlophones on the walls. Probably some of them are quite rare now. Of course, I was only interested really in the Goodmans and the Bassies and maybe a few of the Harry Jameses. But there must have been a lot of stuff by what I took to be semi-obscure groups, but I didn't bother buying them. Even today, when I have most of the Parlophone Blue Label now, I probably have about 2/3 of the Parlophone catalogue accumulated over the past few years. But there are still certain ones that are very, very elusive. There are 3 by Raymond Scott, which I've mentioned, which are hard to get. The Alec Wilder octets are hard to get, and there's 1, possibly 2, by Nan Wynne and her orchestra. She's a vocalist, and I mentioned before she used to sing for Rita Hayworth in a couple of her films. And she had a group, and Nan Wynne and her swing band or something, and those records are so hard to get, it's incredible.